We're about to get into a story that is just wild. It's a shocking story that starts with one of the worst kinds of betrayal, but it ends with this incredible journey of rebuilding a life and, well, redefining what family really means. Okay, just try to imagine this. You're 17. You come home one day and the house is empty. I mean, completely empty. Your parents, your brother, everything they own, just gone. And the only thing they left behind is a note on the kitchen counter. A note with 5 words. You'll figure it out. Those 5 little words kicked off a 12-year saga of survival, betrayal, and eventually, unbelievable success. So here's the entire story in a nutshell. At 17, she is left with absolutely nothing. By 29, through pure grit and determination, she's a self-made millionaire. And wouldn't you know it, that is the exact moment the family that threw her away decides, hey, maybe we want back in. So let's start at the very beginning, right in the immediate aftermath of that note. What does it even mean to figure it out when you're a teenager who has no one and nothing to your name? Well, that first year was an absolute nightmare. It was a brutal fight just to survive. A week after her family vanished, she got evicted. Her solution? Sleeping in a storage unit. Her days became this grim routine, showering at the local YMCA, eating peanut butter straight from the jar for dinner, and working these soul-crushing night shifts at a diner just to make ends meet. But here's the thing. This isn't just a story about getting by. It's a story about absolutely thriving against impossible odds. This is where she starts to rebuild her life, piece by painful piece, into something truly incredible. So how did she do it? Well, her climb started with a tiny break. A regular at the diner where she worked offered her a temp job cleaning out old files. The pay? Triple what she was making. From there, she was just relentless. She taught herself everything she could, started building a freelance client base, and by the time she was 25, she launched her own consulting firm. Just 4 years after that, at age 29, she was a debt-free, apartment-owning millionaire. For 12 years, crickets. Absolute silence. Not a single phone call, not one text. But then, her success story goes public, and suddenly, everything changes. So she goes on this podcast to talk about her experiences with family estrangement, and the episode just blows up online. And then, what do you know? An email lands in her inbox. It's from her mother. No apology, just this casual suggestion that maybe they could talk. Then another one comes in, this time from her brother. We miss you. Can we fix this? The timing, of course, was, let's just say, highly suspicious. And this is where things get really messy, because right out of the gate, their stories don't even add up. Her mother claims they were deep in debt and thought leaving her behind was some kind of favor so she could get placed with a better family. But her brother, Michael, he was told a completely different story, that she chose to stay behind to live with a friend. The lies started piling up from the very first conversation. You know, this isn't just a case of bad memory. There's a name for this, and it's a really dark psychological tactic. It's called controlling the narrative. Basically, perpetrators invent this alternate reality where they're the victims. It's a brutal form of gaslighting, and it's designed not just to dodge blame, but to make the real victim doubt their own sanity. And in this case, her family had been polishing their fake story for over a decade. The true depth of this whole deception finally came to light when she met her sister-in-law, Jenny. And Jenny dropped a bombshell. For years, her parents had been telling everyone that she was the one who ran away, that she stole money from them, and that they had spent years trying to find her. They even had old Facebook posts about hiring private investigators to find their troubled daughter. So when she didn't immediately welcome them back with open arms and, an open wallet, their so-called reconciliation attempts took a very sharp, very dark turn. It became a terrifying campaign of harassment. And I want you to see just how quickly this spiraled out of control. It started with them just showing up at her apartment building, a total violation of her privacy. 3 days later, there was a faked medical emergency, a classic manipulation tactic. Then they break into her brother's house. After that, it becomes relentless. Threatening flowers left on her doorstep, menacing texts, and finally a brick through Michael's car window. So, after their mother was rushed to the hospital for what she claimed was a heart attack, her brother calls just sobbing and blames her for the whole thing. "This is your fault," he cried. It's just a textbook guilt trip, a blatant attempt to make her feel responsible for their mother's health. This is the chilling note they left behind after they broke into her brother's house and stole personal photos and documents. It says everything about how they think. It shows they believe they're above the law, that their actions have no consequences, and that family is their own private kingdom to control. This was it. The gloves were completely off now. The night before she was due in court for a restraining order hearing, her mother sent this final, direct threat. The pretense of wanting to reconcile was gone. This was pure intimidation, a last-ditch effort to scare her into backing down. So she goes to court, and she wins. The judge grants her a 3-year restraining order. But do you think a piece of paper was going to stop them? Almost immediately after leaving the courthouse, she gets a text. It's a photo of her little niece playing at a friend's house, with a message, "This isn't over yet." This was the breaking point. She realized hiding behind lawyers and court orders just wasn't enough. She was done being the victim. It was time to end this, but this time, it would be on her terms. So she does something just, wow, incredibly gutsy. She emails her parents and proposes one last meeting in a public place. Just them. She knew she had to say her piece, not for them, but for herself. She had to take her power back, once and for all. And these were her final words to them. After she laid out exactly how she would expose their lies to everyone they knew if they didn't stop, her mother asked if she hated them. And her response, it wasn't about anger. It was about something way colder, way more powerful: indifference. She drew a final boundary, making it clear that for them, this was the end of the road. And out of the ashes of that toxic, broken family, she started to build a new one. A real one. She and her brother Michael, along with his wife Jenny, forged a new bond. This one was built on support, on honesty, on choice. She became Auntie Emma to her niece Lily, creating new, happy traditions with the families she chose to let into her life. In the end, it's pretty clear, right? They didn't get to write her story. She wasn't defined by the trauma of being abandoned. She redefined herself through her own resilience, her success, and most importantly, the loving, supportive family she consciously chose to build for herself. And this whole unbelievable story really leaves you with one big question. Breaking a cycle, it's not just about setting boundaries or trying to move on. It's about looking the source of your trauma right in the eye, taking back control of your own narrative, and then actively choosing to build a completely different future. It's a profound act of both defiance and creation.